This is the ultimate Lit Crit study guide category: English, Irish, British, and Scottish authors to know. Let's start off with Plato, who is an ancient philosopher. He said that he valued mind and spiritual matters over physical things. And Aristotle, who was his apprentice, was also an ancient philosopher who disagreed with Plato and relied on sciences and senses for observation. Okay, Caedmon is our first ever English poet. After Caedmon, we have Geoffrey Chaucer, who is English, and he wrote the Canterbury Tales. Okay. Thomas Malory was also English, and he wrote Le Morte d'Arthur. Sir Thomas More, also English, wrote Utopia. Francis Bacon, also English, he came up with the scientific method. Christopher Marlowe was English, and he wrote Dr. Faustus. Shakespeare, obviously, we know he's English, wrote Juliet, Macbeth. John Donne, also English, he wrote the Holy Sonnets. We have George Herbert, also English, he was a metaphysical poet. John Milton, also English, he wrote the political pamphlets. Isaac Walton was also English, and he wrote The Complete Angler. Jonathan Swift was Irish, and he wrote Gulliver's Travels. Daniel Defoe, also English, wrote Robinson Crusoe. Robert Burns was Scottish, and he wrote A Red, Red Rose. Mary Shelley, English, she wrote Frankenstein. Mary Wollstonecraft was English, and she wrote A Vindication for the Rights of Women. Samuel Taylor Coleridge was also English, and he co-wrote lyrical ballads. John Keats was English, and he wrote Ode to a Grecian Urn. Lord Byron, he was British. He wrote Don Juan and She Walks in Beauty. Jane Austen, English. Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Mansfield Park. Sir Walter Scott was Scottish, and he wrote Waverley, Ivanhoe, and Rob Roy. Robert Browning was English, and he wrote My Last Duchess. Charles Dickens, English, he wrote Christmas Carol and A Tale of Two Cities. Charlotte Bronte wrote Jane Eyre, she's English. Emily Bronte wrote Wuthering Heights, she's also English. George Eliot, she was English, she wrote Silas Marner, and she's a second grade Victorian writer next to Charles Dickens, which, wow. Thomas Hardy was also English. He wrote Tess of the D'Urbervilles and Return of the Native. Rudyard Kipling, Nobel Prize. He's English. He wrote Kim and the Jungle Book. Okay, Oscar Wilde, he was Irish, and he wrote Picture of Dorian Gray. George Bernard Shaw was a Nobel Prize. He is Irish, and he wrote Pygmalion and Arms and the Man, okay? Remember that. John Galsworthy was English, and he wrote Forest Saga. It's pronounced Forest Saga. W.B. Yeats. He's a Nobel Prize. He's Irish, and he wrote The Lake Isle of Innisfree. T.S. Eliot. He was American. He was born American, but then he became a British citizen, so technically he's British. He wrote The Wasteland. He is a Nobel Prize. Virginia Woolf, English. Arm of One's Own. Orlando, Miss Dalloway. Aldous Huxley was also English. He wrote Brave New World. Doris Lessing, Nobel Prize, she was British. Okay, she was British, and she wrote Children of Violence and The Golden Notebook. Okay. Harold Pinter, he was also a Nobel Prize. He was also British, and he wrote The Birthday Party and No Man's Land. Samuel Beckett, he was Irish, and he wrote Waiting for Godot and Malone Dies. Seamus Heaney, he was also Irish, and he wrote Death of a Naturalist, North, Winter Break. Sir William Golding, he was British, and he wrote Lord of the Flies, The Inheritors, Rites of Passage. Anyways,